since everyone is doing it, I thought I'd decide to talk about it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my personal theory and analysis of the coming Enigma, the entity stronger than the one above all, sins of Sinister's relation into it, and the true mastermind and the villain behind it. Let us start off with a recap of what is correct and what is incorrect by both the characters as well as just what's happened in the story. Adam Brashear in Defenders Beyond issue 5 says there's no power we can reach above yours to the one above all. Clearly the character of Nathaniel Essex, aka Sinister, has proven that to be very wrong in the form of the power of the Dominion. Or has he? We'll get into that in a little bit. Suffice to say, there are two things that are more important than that are on the page. The one above all himself describing both himself as well as himself and his location in creation and position in creation relative to the characters. Quote, "The place where the world of action ends and the world of creation begins." This is what is said in direct response to "The Beginning of What You Represent" by Adam Brashear. That is what Toa represents. The one above all represents the idea of where the world of creation begins and where action ends. And Adam Brashear asks of him, above everything, what creates creation? Even your creators, is there a final guiding hand? Very interesting and very existential, as it implies that even the one above all has his own creators. We've always known this to be, such as the form of, his higher avatars would arguably be the writers, whilst his own creators would most likely fall under entities such as the divine creator, fallen stars, all of that jazz would probably connect, but we'll connect onto that later as well. The one above all concedes that he is not aware of what is the final guiding hand, if there is one. Additionally, the one above all shows an entity / force that is operating across all of creation, an enigma to come. The enigma to come, I should say. Singular. Obviously, this enigma is Nathaniel Essex, who has obtained the power of Dominionhood. But, yeah. Let's get into more of the facts of this before we start speculating. Whilst the House of Ideas is described as the crown of creation, the enigma is described as a crown above all things. And what does a crown do? A crown is a sign of rule. And the House of Ideas is the most fundamental thing that rules and shapes all of creation. Now, it makes sense to me based off of the Sins of Sinister issues, which scans I can't post, but suffice to say, it makes sense to me that Nathaniel Essex is in fact more powerful than the one above all, and has a greater power than him, and is now attempting to assert its power into our reality, overriding the one above all as a higher crown, a more fundamental force behind reality. Now, I'm going to start getting into speculation but just to recap the facts, and to make sure everyone is on the same page. The House of Ideas is the peak of creation, also known as Keter, as shown on the cover. This means that it is at the highest level of the 4 celestial worlds of Kabbalah, which are in ascending to descending order at Zilith, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asaya. Now, more importantly, Loki says that So where there are 4, look for the 5th business. Defenders issue, or Beyond issue number 5. Now, why would Loki say this? Obviously, because there's a 5th world. You might be confused as this sounds like a DC concept, which it is, but that's a whole other discussion. Suffice to say, Marvel is set up on the Kabbalah, meaning there are 4 celestial worlds. Now, Loki is suggesting look for a 5th in all things that have the number or concept of 4 within them. This means we should be looking at a hypothetical 5th world that is beyond the Kabbalah and the one that we know. Now, let's look into this some more, just to be clear. Loki is asked by Adam Bashir to take up a Bodhisattva vow. Now, I am not going to explain what Buddhism is, purely because that would be too long a topic, and I am not a Buddhist. But suffice to say, we shall sum up the key important things here. There are 6 worlds of reincarnation, the Samsara in Buddhist cosmology. Now, 7 is also a very important number in Buddhism, as is 8, the Eightfold Path, and 7, which represents, a number or realm, dimension of existence beyond reincarnation, the 6 dimensions, spiritual dimensions, and worlds of reincarnation. Similarly, the Bible in Revelation has a sort of theme of the number 7 around it. Let's not forget, we find ourselves within the 8th iteration of eternity. Now, despite having told you there are 4 celestial worlds in Kabbalah, remember, all of Kabbalah is merely an emanation. We must ask ourselves, what is the emanator, the source? There are three sort of concepts. 3 plus 4 is 7. Interesting, I know. 3 concepts sort of beyond this. And in that order, they are Ain Soph Aur, or infinite divinity, or infinite divine light, I should say. Followed by Ain Soph, which is infinite or endless divinity, which itself is followed by the most fundamental of all, Ain, emptiness, no end, nothing, basically. I say all this to say that there are 7 worlds the concept of the number 7 is important in Christianity. It is important in Buddhism. And the 7th and final force or level in Kabbalah is Ain, nothingness, emptiness. This sounds sort of like the comic book page itself, but that's just a theory. Suffice to say, this idea of emptiness, or the 7th level, seems to be quite prevalent, and perhaps our 5th world is based upon the concept of an infinite divine light, an infinite divinity, or an infinite force of story itself, and Ain, the infinite nothingness that all stories coexist in, similar to, but perhaps superior to, the Overvoid of DC Comics. Once again, I'd like to remind this is speculation and theorizing. When Loki said, whether there is 4, look for a 5th, it is our time to look for a 5th. Now, there have been several issues/runs that have been written by several famous comic book authors as of current that are all sort of diving into this more cosmic existential topic of the one above all, as well as the world tree and its shadowy opposite of Qliphoth. Now you might be saying that's merely speculation, but in fact Qliphoth is not a speculatory concept within Marvel, as Venom has recently been discussed as being connected to it, and an opposite of the forces of the Beyonders, the Kings in Black. This is very interesting as it implies, first and foremost, that Venom is in fact connected to the One Below All, which, as we've already seen, as Null has been described as Cosmic Satan, and Bruce Banner himself said this sounded very similar to what the concept of the One Below All is. But more importantly, that Venom is described in hierarchically as on the level of the Beyonders. The Beyonders existed within Yesod, which is above Malkuth, i.e. multi-eternity, but is the lowest, or second lowest I should say, world of the Kabbalah, implying there are forces and entities that are on deeper levels of the shadow tree of the Qliphoth that exist beyond Venom. One of them would be Hulk, with the concept of Gevurah and Golakeb, which was discussed in the final issue of Immortal Hulk, where the One Above All revealed itself to be the One Below All, and vice versa. Despite even this, though, there are forces beyond Golakeb and Gevurah on the Kabbalah and Qliphoth respectively, such as Keter and Thamiel, aka also known as the One Above All and the One Below All themselves. Now, to be clear, there are several worlds that we have not seen, both in the Kabbalah, aka the Marvel cosmology, as well as most of them we haven't seen in the Qliphoth side, aka the One Below All, and the agents of the One Below All, the agents of the Shadow, the ones that operate within the world itself. I theorize that Ghost Rider will find himself to be involved within this, and similar to how there's an Immortal X-Men, an Immortal Thor, and a finished and completed Immortal Hulk run, there will be an Immortal Ghost Rider run. As for who the fifth shall be, I theorize it might in fact be Spider-Man, someone who has both met the One Above All, as well as in the Spiderverse movie dealing with canonicity, aka the flow of stories themselves and what is fated to happen, common tropes that repeat throughout the multiverse, and the Spot who threatens the multiverse, and Miles who threatens to break canon, which sounds very similar to either breaking the rules of the One Above All, perhaps through the dominion of another character who is overriding reality and the rules of it, or through the fact that everything is slowly, all the rules are becoming pointless, meaningless, nothingness, akin to oblivion. But there is something I have been rather disingenuous about, even if partially unintentionally. When the One Above All spoke of a world of creation and action, the One Above All, in fact, was not speaking of the highest world. The One Above All finds itself cosmologically and existentially inferior to forces beyond even it. And there is one character, one entity as of yet we know who for certain embodies the force beyond. Nathaniel Essex. As the embodiment of a crown, also called the Enigma, he is the peak of, everything as of current we know of. He is the crown, the true Keter, where the world that Keter, Chokmah, and Baina find themselves to be in, the world of emanation, which is superior to the world of creation. Atziluth is superior to Beriah, the world that Toa himself describes himself to be in, a world of creation and creators. Nathaniel Essex has done something quite impressive. He has transcended the hierarchy of creators, and it has perhaps become the final guiding hand of all stories. But my true theory finds itself here and now. Whilst Nathaniel Essex has become the true crown above all creation, transcending the hierarchy of creators that stand above even the one above all, he finds himself existentially and ontologically inferior to some of our current villains. The Mother of Horrors, an entity who exists outside of the one above all. Now, there is only one other entity who has been implied to exist outside of the one above all, and that same entity has been shown in the Marvel Gods run to possibly be scheming on all of existence. Oblivion. What exactly would Oblivion be in this hierarchy? Ain, emptiness, nothingness. He is not the divine light of creation or creators, that even stands above the concept of Keter. He is not the infinite divinity itself. He is nothingness, the end of stories, the end of everything. And it finally all makes sense. Where Keter and everything below it, wherein our dominion, Enigma, and everyone and everything below him are emanations, there are entities outside of that emanation. Ain, Oblivion. He is the emptiness, the nothingness itself, or at the very least, he wishes to end creation and bring forth that emptiness and nothingness. Whereas the Mother of Horrors created something to surpass the one above all, and whilst it's failed, the one above all did create a defense for all creation in the form of a shadow. A shadow that itself was merely a reflection, an emanation of a higher emptiness and darkness. Where Keter has Thamiel as its shadow, and Kabbalah, Qliphoth as its shadow, so too Ain Soph, aka nothingness, emptiness, infinite divinity, and Ain Soph Aur, or the infinite divine light, find themselves to have opposites. The Mother of Horrors representing the true Thamiel, the true opposite of the one above all. An entity who embodies the light, or who embodies the opposite of the light that would create concepts such as Toa, which would explain why she does not require him as her creator. It would also explain why she is seemingly capable of creating entities who are capable of challenging the one above all so easily. And it also explains why only the Hulk was able to defeat Brother in Dark, or her child, like the brother. Similar to how a force of the light side of Keter, entities working under the one above all and eternity will defeat Dominion, Venom and Hulk will work in tandem with the one below all to defeat the Mother of Horrors. And the true question is, when will they all work together to stop the end of everything back into that infinite emptiness beyond even infinite divinity? The infinite emptiness that is Oblivion's goal. But hey, that's that's just my theory. That's my Marvel Comics theory. I'm just going out on the record to say it. I might create a part 2 discussing Thanos and the Death Stone and some other things. But yeah, peace.